What is the sluttiest moment of your life? I went into the bathroom of a dive bar, took off my panties and threw them away. They were the granny panties I had worn specifically to prevent myself from hooking up with a guy. My sober thinking was that I would be too embarrassed to undress in front of him, knowing that I had these seriously and sexy unders on. Duck that, said my drunk self. Throw those things away and get toxic 8 times even faster. Score 1 for my drunk self. Oh, and I also went to work with cum in my hair the next morning. Got super drunk on Socko 100 proof. Apparently kicked a guy out from our party that was trying to molest a passed out chick sleeping in my bed. Went home with the fat neighbor that was 10 years older than me. Woke up the next day in her bed. Grabbed my stuff and left without saying anything. Went home. Showered off my shame and came out of the bathroom to see the girl I had rescued from creepy molester guy was up and hanging out on the couch. Sit down next to her. And while we were talking all of a sudden she says, "Did you just ask me if I want to duck?" I say no. Confused for a second. Then she says, "Oh, because that would be awesome." I picked her up and carried her into my bedroom to have a sex with a second woman in less than 24 hours. Not exactly crazy, but it was definitely my sluttiest moment. A MILF at a party told me I had a nice beard. I said if she liked it so much she could sit on it. She did. One night, XGF spends the night. We bone in the morning. That afternoon, another ex texts me to tell me she's at a Tim Hortons near my house and if I want anything. She brings me an iced cap. We bone. That night, I text a third ex and ask if she wants to come watch the Red Wings game. She comes over. We bone. A bone in the morning, afternoon, and at night, with 3 XGFs. Good day. Edit. Never realized my slut story was so Canadian. Getting my ass eaten by one girl while I 69'd with another girl. Even if I suffer debilitating dementia in my old age, I'll remember that one. Met a guy at a party. Started grinding. Within 5 minutes his hand was down my pants. We made our way to his tent and he started to take my clothes off but realized he didn't have a condom, so he called his friend and soon enough the whole party was on a hunt to find a condom for us. I guess nobody actually thought to bring one. Eventually, someone brings us one. The guy delivers. A girl slapped my butt once and said nice ass. Now granted I didn't do anything but it was nice. I am so boring. Walked into a room at a party. 4 people were sitting on the sofa. I realized I ducked all 4 of them within the last year. Walked back out of that room. I don't even want to know about that conversation. A game of spin the bottle which progressively upped the ante until it was sloppy drunk grub6. Ducked a 29-year-old lesbian at her house while her girlfriend was out of town. Met her at the bar and told her I was 23, was actually 19. Her ex-husband lived there too and actually gave me the condom. Looking back I think that was all just a lie and they were into cuckolding. This post makes me feel inferior in so many ways. Everyone banging and I here watching porn stars. The show not a typo. I almost had a threesome with 2 guys and they both sucked on my nipples at the same time. Hottest thing ever. I feel like right now is the sluttiest time of my life. My fiance registered sign of 5 years died almost 2 months ago. And I am so inclined to find comfort in the arms of anyone willing to give it to me. I want to please someone. I want to be cuddled. I want to connect with people on a physical level. I want my body to be used for pleasure and I want the same. I want to be naked next to someone who can appreciate my need and who understands what a meaningful gesture that is. He doesn't have to be more than tangentially aware of why I feel the way I do. He just has to be aware of the need and why I need. I need to make someone feel good because that makes me feel good. It's the only thing so far that lessens the pain. When I was like 20, I had an LTR with a woman from Chicago. After we broke up, I met 2 other women online. One of them I was just friends with. The other I intended to hook up with. The one I was going to hook up with lived in Indiana, so I flew there to meet her. She was older than she had said, by 5 years, and had 3 kids. We hooked up. It was decent. Then the next day I wanted to bail, so I called the friend who happened to live one town over. She came and picked me up, drove me to Chicago. We stopped at a hotel along the way and hooked up. Then she dropped me off in Chicago at my ex's place. I stayed with her for 2 days and we hooked up both nights I was there before I flew home. This is a bit fuzzy but I can remember some of it. Was in the Cayman Islands on vacation with my friend. One late night I got absolutely wrecked off Bacardi 151 straight. My drunken self decided to go into the pool to cool off. It's hot as duck in the Caymans. I started to flirt with a woman who at the time appeared to be around my age. I was 21. We decide to start making out in the public pool and proceed to walk into the ocean onto a resort sitting table. IDK what the duck they are called. Anyways, it's around 1 AM and no one is around. We proceed to start banging it out on this table in the ocean. It was grade 6 at the time but honestly I was blacked out at this point. And getting serious whiskey D. Dead at like 30 minutes of table ducking go by. And we take it to my hotel room. We continue banging. And when it was done she left. I passed out and wake up in the morning. Go downstairs and order breakfast outside. Heading back to the pool. An older Asian lady, like 40, comes up to me and says, "That was one of the best nights of my life." I was so confused and it hit me. Holy it, I ducked this lady. I awkwardly say goodbye. And later that day I see this lady eating ducking food with her family. TL. Doctor, I ducked a mom on vacation that was with her family. I thought she was around my age. I felt like such a piece of it. I instigated a game of truth or dare to try to make out with a boy I went out with earlier that night. Ended up getting dared to make out with a different boy I met like 20 minutes before and lost my virginity to him in my friend's sister's bed. I was paid to have a 6. I am an extremely average white male. Not me, but it was her sluttiest moment. I was in a mall buying something and one of my oldest friends saw me and she was alone and asked if I wanted to tag along with her since she was there also buying something. I agreed and she brought me to Victoria's Secret store. She asked me if these panties bras would look good on her. This girl whom I've never seen nor met in real life for years. She's grown out. Great tits, ass and body. After about 1 hour of her trying out stuff she picked what she liked and bought it. After that I asked if she wanted to go to my place and I could make her dinner. I remembered I had recently restocked my fridge and they had a sale on pastas and easy to make sauces. She agreed and we went over to my place. She watched TV while I made pesto. We ate and sat on the sofa watching Netflix. Shortly after she said she'll go in the restroom and change. I didn't know what she meant so I didn't care and let her be. 10 minutes later she comes out wearing the stuff she bought from Versus and sits on my lap saying I gotta pay you back somehow. Food was really good. We do it till the morning and she left. We hooked up for months after that and still together today. Just recently she told me that was the sluttiest moment of her life. Edit. She saw this comment and hated me for posting this. I should have used a throwaway account. Hug. Got jerked off by 7 women who wanted to see my pierced D. All these people here having sex and I'm just sitting here feeling accomplished for just meeting a girl. This is terrible. The guy I had been talking to left me for a 17-year-old so, in a drunken rage, I slept with not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 different guys, over the course of about 5 hours. Throwaway account. I worked as an escort for a few years in my 20s and I genuinely enjoyed it. Of course not every client experience was good but most were. Here we go fam. Lock your doors. Drop your pants. It's another Ask Reddit 6 thread. AWW yeah. One night stand raw 6 with a post-op male to female. I came inside. I held hands with 2 people at the same time. They were my parents. I was 4. Got dumped by the first person I loved. After a couple of weeks of feeling worthless and not getting any through the usual channels, I used Craigslist, responded to first person to answer my personal ad, ended up meeting about an hour later, got into this old guy's van, probably late 40s early 50s. He pulled into a cemetery, blew him, he ducked me, then I tried anal for the first time, all in the back of his dirty ass van. Thinking back on it, it was definitely one of the most sketchy things I've done in my life. I'm also ashamed of how good it actually was. I mean the guy looked older than my dad. This thread is demoralizing. I've been single for more than 8 months and no random blowjobs in a ducking car or alleyway or a slutty 5-way ducking hell. No. And up. Don't be a pussy. I'm gonna make IT. Duck all of you. No, I mean duck me. Goddamn IT. I'm just gonna be a slut from now on, and I'm a man. I'm gonna be a man slut. Edit. If any of you are wondering, I'm not ugly at all. I get complimented quite often on my looks, but I just have little sexual experience and not much confidence because of it. I am working on it though. I'm a lot more confident than I used to be. Banged a girl I was dating in front of all her friends. Went to her friend's bedroom and we talked one of them into joining and licked her pussy while they made out. After she cummed, she was embarrassed, I guess, and left. The guy who was throwing the part comes in, cause it's his room, and watches us for a while. I wanted to try giving head and he had a huge D, so he said he was cool with it. Gave him head and my lady friend gave him head too, and he watched me come all over her. Back in college I was working over the interim break and staying in my fraternity house. My then girlfriend of 4 years and I had just recently broken up, less than a month. One of my good friends started spending a lot of time visiting and hanging out since I was pretty upset about the ex. One thing led to another and we started hooking up. I was still talking to the ex all the time. However, one night she came over after I was done with work and spent the night. Obviously, we did several times. She left in the morning and I went into work while she went home. That night, my friend came over and we commenced to bone. It wasn't until she left that I realized it had been less than 24 hours between girls. I was fairly proud of myself. No, I didn't end up with either of them. And no, they don't know this. The night I was invited to a birthday party at a sorority house. Was one of 3 guys there. The birthday boy was like 30 and passed out. A then semi-famous radio personality's brother. Radio dude set this all up for us. The other guy left with this hot blonde who had been licking my ear earlier while we danced. So I'm all alone in a house full of college chicks with no transportation. The guy that left drove me there. So, I party with the chicks. Things are going fine. We have plenty of beer. Next thing I know, I'm up in a chick's room and we're having sex. Cool. There's a knock at the door. Some other girl. The girl I just banged gets up and says he's all yours if he's up to it. Except it's 2 other chicks. They ask if I'm up to it. Check. 18-year-old self says yup. So I have my first threesome with those 2. Now I'm good and done. Come back downstairs. The sorority mom or whatever she's called is quite annoyed with me. Says that because of my blatant abuse of their rules I have to do the dishes and clean their kitchen. Honestly did not mind. So I did that and went outside to walk back to the guy's house who drove me there, as it was the closest place I could think of. 2 chicks are sitting outside on the steps. They are twins. They ask me if I have any cigarettes left. Yes, I do. So I sit down and smoke a couple of cigarettes with them as they both rub my crotch through my jeans. Sorority mom comes out and tells me to leave. Now, walk back to friend's house. My friend is there with a hot blonde. They are just hanging out after obviously having sex. He pulls me aside at one point to try to brag. I just say you're the man and go to bed. Got drunk on my second date with a guy. Let him finger me in his truck while he was driving 80 on the highway. Somehow managed to stumble into my house where I proceeded to let him eat out my ass and also duck me there. But hey, at least I discovered my love for rimming and anal. I met a guy at a party once and about 20 minutes later I had sex with him in an alleyway. I have several. 1. Flew to another state at the request of a guy I was friends with in college. He was there for a bar party. Met him at a bar. Got drunk. Checked into a hotel with him. Blew him. 2. Blew a guy in college in a party behind a giant taxidermied polar bear. 3. Had sex with one guy I was seeing. Went home. Showered. Had breakfast. Went over to another guy's house. Made brunch with him and ducked him for the rest of the day. BTW. I do not look or act like a typical slutty girl. I'm pretty conservative looking. Have a good job. And graduated from good schools. No one would guess I have this sordid past. I have slept with around 20 different guys so far this year. I don't know the exact number. I once winked at a girl. Shudders. Few years back, night before the Super Bowl. Was at a friend's and a girl I hooked up with months before shows up. Out of nowhere she starts calling me an asshole and angrily says, "You think you're so ducking cool, huh?" As I stand there trying to find words, she pushes me in the bathroom and starts sucking my D. Guess she really showed me. Then says I have to finish by ducking her raw dog. This all happens within about 2 minutes of initial contact. At the same event about 45 minutes later, a hot girl with big fake knockers shows up and the first girl leaves shortly after. I end up doing a few shots with the fake knockers girl and end up back at her place having sex with her raw dog. This all happens about 3 hours within each other. The best part is that both of their last names were Johnson. So that's my Johnson and Amp Johnson story. I kissed a guy and a girl the same night. At 21, I took home a MILF from the bar because her daughter rejected me in high school. I have a very distinct truck, and I had parked it in her driveway. That next morning, after I left, I got a Facebook message from the daughter that just said, "Really?" To which I replied, "Who's your daddy?" It was honestly equal parts awesome and awful, as the mom wasn't particularly good looking or particularly skillful in bed. But the revenge tasted sweet. A friend of a friend and I got super drunk one night when I was 18 and kissed in the bathroom for like 10 minutes before I had to hold her hair so she could hurl into the toilet. Good times. Oh, I've got a couple. I hooked up with one of my duck buddies in the afternoon after all my classes, and that night I got drunk and ducked a total stranger at some party. I'd never ducked two separate people in one night before. The duck buddy and I also did it in some weird places. The library, the tennis courts, in one of the academic buildings. He openly fingered me at a club once and also has me send nudes from work. Went into town and got wasted on a Friday night. Ended up going back to some flat with two girls. One of them sucks me off in the living room after the other one went to bed. Got home about 6 AM. Sleep till about midday. Get pissed again. End up back in town on Saturday night. Sat outside a takeaway on my own after arranging to meet a girl I know. Ghost hits up. Some 40-year-old, super muscly woman stood talking to her equally muscly friend in front of me. Assume they are massive lesbians. Friend wanders off while muscly woman sits down to eat chicken next to me. End up talking to her. We decide to go into a bar across the road and do loads of shots together. End up shagging her in a nearby car park. Muscly non-lesbian woman gets a taxi home. I decide I'm not finished with my night, so go to another bar and get hammered on my own. End up taking some other girl back to mine and shagging her. Weekend after. Wake up in my bed on a Saturday morning. Can't remember a thing from the night before. Girl in bed next to me. Start having sex. Realize she's a post-op transsexual. Continue having sex. Funny thing is I'm absolutely useless with women and never usually pull when I go out. Must have been having a good month. I was living in freshman housing and I was at this girl's room and we started hooking up and I got a text from another girl I was talking to. And the girl I was with grabbed my phone and raised an eyebrow. I looked at the screen and it said, "Make out," she texted back sure, and gave her room. We all made out and stuff. I walked the second girl back to her dorm. We banged on her couch. Her roommates came in. Got mad at her for having a naked dude in their room as we boned. I left after we got done. And the first girl was waiting at her door in a shirt. We bone in her room. Wake up next morning to a hand job. We bone again. I got to class. Realized that they had both shoved their underwear in my back pockets when I sat down in class. They just had their 3-year anniversary and occasionally send me a Snapchat of them together as thanks for introducing them. Was on vacation in Mexico. Hooked up with a guy one night and made plans to hook up the next day. An hour or so before I was supposed to meet up with him. Ended up hooking up with another guy. Once we finished I looked at the time. 5 minutes before I was supposed to meet up with the guy I made plans with. Cleaned myself up and said I had to go and that I was meeting up with another guy. I had no shame. 2 girls from the same bar in an abandoned building nearby. First around 12 AM. I went back to rejoin my friends. She did the same. The second approached me around 2 or 3 AM. TFW I came back again. Started talking to a third girl. Being 50/50 on whether I would actually to do it again if this one was up for it too. Felt like a job at that point. And then so many nights where most girls barely look at me. When it rains, it pours. But in a good way. I was part of a Dungeons and Dragons group that met up once a week. Back in December, during a session, I started playing a game of Simon Says over text. The person had me doing some really slutty things with one of my teammates. Some of the tasks were having him suck on one of my boobs, recreating a realistic photo I took a few years ago, and me sucking the guy's D for a while. All tasks needed photo and video proof. One of the last tasks with the D&D guy was to straddle him and have him penetrate me for a little while but then stop and leave. The last task was to drive to a certain location and meet someone to duck him. The person ended up being a regular duck buddy and the location was his work. We ducked in an upstairs office and we took videos of it all. It was very exciting and very slutty. The sluttiest part of all was the person who was Simon for Simon Says was my husband. Do I have to be the ducking buzzkill to ask why RS Credit is the place for jerk off material now? My friend had just finished her masters so we had a night out midweek. Got pretty drunk. It got dramatic. I went home. Anyway, I was on a swingers site. I'd been messaging with someone and we were planning to meet in a week or so. I get home and log on to see if there's any messages from her and promptly fall asleep on the couch. Laptop on my lap. At 6 AM I wake up and see that I have a message. It's this other woman called Tracy. Now the site is a small site, so I had seen her before. Her pics, and she had loads, were mostly of her being obliterated by a variety of big black cocks. Now I'm black but only average so I never bothered messaging. She says she wants a fisting before work. I check her town and call the minicab company and getting there isn't too pricey. So I message back and we exchange numbers. One ball wash session and brush teeth session later I'm in a cab going to go fist a stranger on Wednesday morning. Go over there. She's like you should have asked the driver in. The more the merrier. Get naked in the moment my clothes hit the floor this old dude shows up. I'm like WTF. Think he's just another dude. He's giving her poppers. The only thing he says is I'd take off my watch mate. She can take you to the wrist. And she does. After she comes on my fist, I put on a condom and despite the fact that it should have been like opening a window and ducking the night, I came disgracefully quick. Like maybe inside 5 minutes. Look at my watch and the whole thing only took half an hour or less. Wandered around the town comfort eating after till I could get a train back to London. The wongst was strong with that one. It once took me 45 minutes to go from meeting a girl to fingering her in the back of her car. Conventions man. It was a friend's birthday. Me, F. Birthday boy, a female friend, male friend, and gay friend. Other than gay friend, we're all pretty much swing any direction. We get drunk. I show everyone my titties because I think I have fantastic titties. Convince other female to get naked. Start feeling her up. Insist that everyone else get naked. This is a naked party now. Fingered her in front of everyone. She starts going down on me while birthday boy goes down on her. Other two males fool around in corner. Eventually drunkenly pass out. Good times.